My sister threw cake in my face and called me a pathetic loser at family dinner, so I cut her off financially. And what happened next? Exposed everything. For the past 5 years, I, a 32-year-old male, have basically been my sister's 29-year-old female personal bank account. I'll call her Zara. I don't mean like, hey, can I borrow $20 for gas? Type of situation. I'm talking full-on financial support. Rent, utilities, groceries, clothes for her kids, school supplies, everything. I work at this factory that makes car parts. It's not glamorous, but it pays decent money if you're willing to work a ton of overtime, which I've been doing basically non-stop since Zara's husband ditched her. My social life? What social life? I haven't been on a real vacation since 2019. Most weekends I'm either working extra shifts or helping Zara with something around her apartment that's broken. It wasn't always like this. Zara used to be married to this guy I'll call Dylan. He was okay, had a steady job as an electrician. They seemed pretty normal, had a kid together, my niece, Poppy, who's 7 now and actually pretty cool. But Zara's always had anger issues, like she'll seem fine and then just snap over nothing. She'd throw these massive tantrums and scream at Dylan over stupid stuff, like him buying the wrong brand of cereal or not answering her text fast enough. No surprise, he eventually got fed up and left when Poppy was about 2. I still remember getting that call from Zara at like 11 at night, sobbing about how Dylan was a selfish jerk who abandoned his family. I later found out he had been telling her for months he was unhappy, but she didn't take him seriously, I guess. Anyway, after the divorce, Zara couldn't afford her apartment anymore. Her job at the mall paid poorly and childcare costs are insane. This is where my parents, Oscar and Vivian, should have stepped in, right? But no, they've been living their retirement dream life since Dad got his pension. They travel like 4 months out of the year and renovated their house with one of those fancy kitchens from TV. When I suggested maybe they could help Zara out financially, you know, their daughter, Mom, just looked at me with this patronizing smile and said, "You're young and capable, Parker. You don't have any responsibilities yet. Zara needs help now." So like an idiot, I agreed to temporarily help until Zara got back on her feet. That was in 2020. It's now 2025, and guess what? I'm still helping. At first it was just helping with rent. Then it was rent and utilities because electricity is so expensive in winter. Then it was groceries because Poppy is growing and needs healthy food. Then it was clothes for Poppy, school supplies, after-school activities. A new laptop because Poppy needs it for school. She was in 1st grade. New furniture because the old stuff reminds me of Dylan, and on and on and on. Every time I tried to suggest maybe cutting back on some expenses, Zara would pull one of her classic moves. Sometimes she'd start crying about how hard it is being a single mom, or she'd get super defensive and say I'm being cheap. Her favorite tactic was using Poppy as a shield. So you want your niece to go without basic necessities? And she loved to remind me how I'm lucky I don't have a family to support. Here's the thing about me, I've always been the family fixer. Middle child syndrome, maybe. I make jokes when things get tense. I try to keep the peace. I don't like conflict. Whenever I hand over money to Zara that I know I'll never see again, I just make some sarcastic comment like, "Well, there goes my dream yacht," or "Guess I'll just have to win the lottery now." Everyone laughs, situation diffused, but I'm still broke. I actually had dreams once. I was saving for a down payment on a house, had about $15,000 saved up when Zara's life imploded. That money? Gone within the first year of helping her. I wanted to take some community college classes to maybe move up at work or get a better job. Can't afford. It now even tried to date occasionally, but it's hard to take someone out when you're counting pennies after paying 2 sets of bills. My buddy Kai is always telling me I'm being used, dude. She's a grown woman. She should figure it out like everyone else, but it's not that simple when kids are involved, you know? Poppy didn't ask for any of this, and I love that little girl. She's smart and funny and likes to draw me pictures of dinosaurs wearing hats. How do you say no when you know your niece might suffer? Uncle Wade is the only one in my family who sees through Zara's act. He pulled me aside at Thanksgiving last year and said, "Kid, you're setting yourself on fire to keep someone warm who's just going to complain it's not hot enough." Wade's always been blunt like that. He offered to loan me money once, but I turned him down. This mess is complicated enough without bringing more family into the financial side. About 8 months ago, Zara finally landed a decent job as an admin assistant at an insurance office, full-time with benefits. I thought maybe finally things would change. Maybe I could just help with benefits. I thought maybe finally things would change. Maybe I could just help with Poppy's extras or maybe just part of the rent instead of all of it. But the financial demands kept coming. sometimes even more than before because transitioning to a new job is expensive somehow. She needed a professional wardrobe and networking lunches and all this other crap that sounded suspiciously like, I want to buy new clothes and go out to eat. Meanwhile, I'm still driving my 2008 Honda with 187,000 miles on it, shopping at discount grocery stores and using my phone until it literally dies because I can't afford a new one. But I kept paying because I'm a sucker, I guess, because saying no feels impossible after saying yes for so long, because I'm afraid of what would happen to Poppy if I cut Zara off, because my whole identity in the family is reliable Parker, who fixes everyone's problems with a smile and a joke. But after Zara got this new office job, I started noticing weird stuff. Not all at once, but little things that just didn't add up. First off, her money problems somehow got worse instead of better. Before, when she was working part-time at the mall, I kind of understood why she needed help. But now she's making money. Not amazing, but definitely better than before. And she's still hitting me up for cash just as much, sometimes even more. One week, she called me saying she couldn't make rent because she had to pay for Poppy's school pictures. School pictures cost like $50, but her rent is $200. Make it make sense. When I'd go over to her apartment, I started seeing new stuff. Nothing super flashy, but definitely not bargain bin either. New throw pillows, brand name makeup on her bathroom counter. She even got one of those robot vacuum things. Who buys a robot vacuum when they can't afford their electric bill? The real red flag was when she showed up to my parents' house for Sunday dinner wearing these designer shoes. I only recognized the brand because this girl I dated was obsessed with them. They cost like $300 minimum. When I raised my eyebrow at her, she just shrugged and said they were on sale. On sale for what, $250 instead of $300? That's still ridiculous when I'm over here buying my work boots from Walmart. Then she started getting weird about her phone. She used to just leave it on the table or whatever, but suddenly she's taking it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom, and she jumped whenever it dinged with a notification. One time I walked in while she was texting, and she literally flipped her phone over like she was hiding nuclear codes or something. Her schedule got strange too. Before she was always home with Poppy in the evenings, but now she was asking me to babysit more and more. Usually last-minute emergency work things, she'd say, or girls' night. I really need this for my mental health. And look, I get needing social time, especially as a single parent. But it was happening like 2 to 3 times a week. I started noticing how Poppy started mentioning stuff that didn't make sense with Zara's broke single mom story. Like one day I was picking her up from school, and she's telling me about this cool restaurant with a table where they cook in front of you, obviously a hibachi place. When I asked who took her there, she said, "Mommy took me last week." So I'm sitting there thinking, I gave Zara money for groceries last week because she said they were eating ramen for dinner every night, but somehow she had money for hibachi? That's like $60 to $70 for 2 people easy. Another time, Poppy was playing with my phone and accidentally opened my Amazon app. She saw some toy and said, "I have that. Mommy ordered it for my good grades." It was a $40 toy. Not the most expensive thing ever, but definitely not what someone who can't pay their water bill should be buying. I started paying more attention to Zara's social media too. She wasn't posting anything suspicious directly, but she was tagging herself at places, nice restaurants, a winery, some concert venue, always with a group of work friends she'd never mentioned before. When I casually brought up one of these outings, "Hey, how was that Italian place you went to Tuesday?" She got defensive immediately. "Are you stalking my Instagram now? Wow, Parker controlling much?" I backed off because that's what I do. Make a joke, smooth things over, pretend everything's fine. Just making conversation, sis. Glad you're making friends at the new job. But I started wondering more and more where my money was actually going. If she can afford girls' nights and hibachi and fancy shoes, why can't she afford rent? Something wasn't adding up. Uncle Wade noticed too. We were helping my dad fix his deck. Well, Wade and I were working while Dad supervised, and Wade just straight up asked me, "You still bankrolling Zara's life?" I gave some non-answer like, "You know how it is. Family helps family." Wade just shook his head. "That girl's taking you for a ride, Parker. You don't see it because you don't want to, but everyone else does." That kind of stung because deep down I knew he was right. Even my buddy Kai had stopped asking me to go out because he was tired of hearing I can't afford it while watching me Venmo my sister hundreds of dollars. I tried bringing it up with my parents once. We were at their house for Dad's birthday, and Zara had just asked me for money to fix her car the day before. An $800 repair that I'm pretty sure was made up. Don't you think it's weird that Zara still needs so much help, even with her new job? I asked Mom while we were alone in the kitchen. Mom just gave me that look. The one that says I'm being difficult. She's a single mother, Parker. Do you have any idea how expensive it is to raise a child? You're lucky you only have to worry about yourself. There it was again. I'm lucky to be stuck paying for 2 households on one salary while everyone else gets to live their lives. The thing that really started making me suspicious was when Zara began getting deliveries. I knew this because Poppy mentioned it. The delivery man comes to our house a lot now. Mommy says it's because she deserves nice things. Nice things? While I'm over here calculating if I can afford to fix my car's AC, or if I should just sweat through another summer. I still wasn't sure what exactly was going on. Part of me thought maybe she had a shopping addiction or something, or maybe she was in some kind of trouble she wasn't telling me about. Either way, I decided I needed to find out the truth. The next time she asked me to babysit last minute for a work event, I agreed, like always. I wasn't actually planning to snoop through my sister's stuff that day, I'm not that kind of person. But when I showed up to babysit Poppy, some weird stuff was going on. First, Zara was all dressed up, like way dressed up for a work event on a Thursday night. She had on this tight black dress I'd never seen before, fancy makeup, hair all done, and was wearing perfume that definitely cost more than the body spray she used to get from the mall. When I asked about it, she got super defensive. Some of us care about our appearance, Parker. Not everyone wants to look like they just rolled out of bed. For the record, I was wearing normal jeans and a clean t-shirt. Not exactly just rolled out of bed, but whatever. The second weird thing was that Poppy seemed confused about where her mom was going. When Zara said Mommy has to go to a work thing, Poppy asked, "Is Ryder going to be there?" Zara's face went white, like instantly. She snapped at Poppy, "Go brush your teeth right now," then practically pushed me into the kitchen, saying we needed to discuss Poppy's bedtime routine. Now, I'm not stupid. "Who's Ryder?" I asked. "Just a coworker," she said quickly. "We're all going to this team building thing." She was lying. I've known Zara my whole life, and she does this thing where she touches her earring when she lies. She was practically yanking on her earring at this point. But I let it go because Poppy came back into the room, and I didn't want to start drama in front of her. Zara left in a hurry, telling me not to wait up because these work things can go late. After I got Poppy settled with a movie, I decided to look around a bit, not full-on snooping, just observing. I wasn't opening drawers or anything. There was a men's jacket hanging in the hall closet when I went to put Poppy's sweater away. Not like a jacket that could be unisex. A straight-up men's leather jacket, size extra large. Zara's ex, Dylan, was a medium at best. In the bathroom, I spotted men's body wash in the shower, and not the cheap stuff either. The fancy kind that cost like $15 a bottle. There was also a men's razor on the counter, but the real evidence was in the living room. While Poppy was getting her pajamas on, I noticed some mail on the coffee table. One envelope was addressed to Ryder Jennings, same address as Zara's apartment. This dude was getting mail at her place. That's not a casual thing. That's not a coworker. That's someone who's spending significant time there. When Poppy came back for the movie, I casually asked, "Hey Pops, who's Ryder again? Is he one of Mommy's friends from work?" She gave me that adults are so dumb look that only kids can pull off. "No, Uncle Parker. Ryder again? Is he one of Mommy's friends from work?" She gave me that adults are so dumb look that only kids can pull off. "No, Uncle Parker. Ryder is Mommy's boyfriend. He sleeps over lots of times and makes pancakes in the morning." Well, there it was. My sister had a secret boyfriend who apparently spent enough time at her place to get mail there and make breakfast. "Does Ryder buy you things?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Sometimes," she said, focused on picking a movie. "He got me the robot that cleans the floor, and he took me and Mommy to the restaurant where they cook in front of you. He has a cool car too." So this guy was buying my niece gifts, taking them to expensive restaurants, and apparently had a cool car, while I was still paying Zara's rent and utilities because she couldn't afford them. I felt sick to my stomach. For 5 years I'd been sacrificing everything to help Zara, thinking she was struggling. And now she had some boyfriend who was spending money on her and Poppy while I was still footing the bills for the necessities. The more Poppy talked, the worse it got. Apparently Ryder had been around for at least 6 months. He took them to the zoo after Zara told me she couldn't afford Poppy's field trip. He even took them on a weekend trip to a water park the same weekend Zara told me she needed extra money because her hours got cut. I kept my cool in front of Poppy. We watched the movie, I read her a story and tucked her in like everything was normal. But inside I was fuming. After Poppy fell asleep, I looked around more deliberately. In Zara's room, I found shopping bags in her closet with receipts still in them. Designer clothes, even a freaking iPad, all purchased in the last few months while I was eating ramen for dinner to save money. In her nightstand drawer, there were brochures for weekend getaways and a handwritten card that read, "Happy 6 months, babe." Can't wait for many more. Love R 6 months. She'd been dating this guy for half a year while still taking my money. I grabbed my phone and started taking pictures of everything. The men's stuff in the bathroom, the mail, the shopping receipts, the card. I even took a picture of the dude's jacket. I wanted evidence when she inevitably tried to deny everything. Then I went through her Instagram. She wasn't posting pictures with any guy, but when I looked closer at her girls' night out photos, I could see the same dude in the background of several pictures. Any guy, but when I looked closer at her girls' night out photos, I could see the same dude in the background of several pictures. Not tagged, but definitely there. In one photo, you could even see his hand on her waist. Subtle, sis, real subtle. I was still sitting there scrolling through her social media when I heard her key in the door around midnight. I quickly put everything back where I found it and tried to look casual on the couch. She came in still all dressed up, looking slightly tipsy and very surprised to see me still awake. "Oh, you're still here. How was Poppy?" "Great," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "We had a nice talk." She told me all about Ryder. The look on her face was almost worth the thousands of dollars I'd wasted on her. Then she went from denying everything, "he's just a friend," to minimizing it, "we've only been dating a few weeks," to finally admitting they'd been together for over 6 months. But the worst part was when she tried to justify keeping him a secret from me. "You're so judgmental, Parker. I knew you'd make a big deal out of it." "A big deal? You've been taking my money for emergencies while spending it on dates with this guy." "It's not like that. Ryder's going through a tough time financially right now. I've been helping him out sometimes." That's when I completely lost it. She was helping him with my money. "So let me get this straight," I said, trying to stay calm. "I work overtime every week so you can pay your bills, but instead you're using that money to support some grown man who should be supporting himself." She started crying then. Classic Zara move. When logic fails, turn on the waterworks. She went on about how I didn't understand, how Ryder was amazing with Poppy, how for the first time since Dylan left she was happy, and how dare I try to ruin this for her. I told her I was done. No more money, no more bailouts, no more being her personal ATM. She could figure out how to pay her own bills like every other adult on the planet. Of course, she called me every name in the book: selfish, heartless, jealous, because I didn't have anyone. That last one stung because maybe it was a little true. It's hard to date when you're working constantly and broke from supporting your sister. I left her apartment that night thinking that was the end of it. Boy, was I wrong. The next morning, my parents called. Guess who had called them at 1 in the morning, crying about how mean I was. They gave me a whole lecture about family supporting family and how I was being unreasonable. When I tried explaining about Ryder, they brushed it off like it was nothing, so she has a boyfriend. What's the big deal? She deserves some happiness after everything she's been through. Did everyone forget that I've been through stuff too? That I've put my entire life on hold for 5 years? For the next week, Zara kept texting me about bills coming due. I ignored them all. My parents kept calling, leaving guilt-trippy voicemails about how Poppy shouldn't suffer because I was being stubborn. I ignored those too. I was finally standing my ground and it felt good. Then came Saturday. I was at home doing laundry when my doorbell rang. It was finally standing my ground and it felt good. Then came Saturday. I was at home doing laundry when my doorbell rang. It was Zara holding a fancy-looking cake box. "Can I come in?" she asked, actually looking remorseful for once. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She put the cake on my kitchen table and started this obviously rehearsed speech about how she was sorry for not telling me about Ryder and how she understood why I was upset. But couldn't we work something out? Maybe I could still help with rent until she got things sorted out. I stared at her in disbelief. "You still don't get it, do you? This isn't just about your boyfriend. It's about the lying, the manipulating, using me for 5 years while hiding how you were really spending the money." "That's not fair," she said, getting defensive again. "I did need help with necessities. Sure, not with fancy date nights and gifts for your boyfriend. Do you have any idea what I've given up for you? I've been living like I'm broke because I am broke after giving you all my money." "It wasn't all your money," she muttered. "Don't exaggerate." I laughed, actually laughed. "Zara, I've given you over $35,000 in the past 5 years. I calculated it." Her eyes got huge. I don't think she'd ever done the math. "Look," I said, "I'm not even asking for the money back. It's gone. But I'm done. You have a job. You have a boyfriend. Figure it out between the two of you." That's when she gestured to the cake box. "I got your favorite carrot cake from that bakery you like as a peace offering." I opened the box, and sure enough there was a fancy carrot cake inside. But something about it seemed off. "What's this really for?" I asked. "You've never brought me cake as an apology before." She fidgeted with her earring, just wanted to make things right. I noticed the cake had some writing on it, partially visible under the box lid. I opened it fully to read, "Happy 6-month anniversary R," and the rest was smudged. It clicked instantly. "This is for Ryder, isn't it? Today is your 6-month anniversary with him." Her face went red. "Well, yes, but I thought we could share it. I'm trying to include you in my life." "Include me?" I was getting louder now. "You didn't even buy this for me. You bought it for your anniversary and what, he canceled? So you thought you'd use it to butter me up instead." "Ryder didn't cancel," she snapped. "He's meeting me later. I just thought, you thought you'd smooth things over with me so I'd keep paying your bills. Then go celebrate with him, using my favorite cake that I'm guessing you paid for with money I gave you for your electric bill last month." "It's not like that," she yelled. "God, you're impossible. This is why I didn't tell you about him. You're so judgmental and controlling." "Controlling? I've let you walk all over me for 5 years. I'm not trying to control you. I'm just done being used by you." "Fine," she shouted. "Keep being a bitter, lonely loser jerk. Ryder loves me, which is more than anyone can say about you." That hurt more than I wanted to admit. "Ryder loves me, which is more than anyone can say about you." That hurt more than I wanted to admit. "If Ryder loves you so much," I said with a cold smile, "then congratulations. You finally found someone else to be your ATM, though I'm guessing he doesn't know that's his role yet. Maybe check if his credit score can handle the Zara attacks before you get too attached." Her face contorted with rage, and before I could react, she grabbed the cake and smashed it directly into my face. Carrot cake went everywhere in my eyes, up my nose, down my shirt. The heavy cake plate hit me hard enough to cut my lip. "Go to hell, Parker," she screamed. "You think you're so much better than everyone. At least Ryder isn't a pathetic loser who has no life outside of work." I stood there, frosting dripping down my face in complete shock. 29 years old, and my sister was throwing cake at me like a toddler having a tantrum. She grabbed her purse and stormed toward the door, then turned back. "Don't expect to see Poppy again if this is how you're going to be." That threat, using my niece as a weapon, was the final straw. "Get out," I said, my voice deadly calm despite the cake covering my face. "And don't come back until you're ready to act like an adult." After she left, I just stood in my kitchen, cake dripping onto my floor, wondering how my life had come to this. 5 years of sacrifice, and all I got was a cake to the face and a threat to keep me from seeing my niece. I took a shower, washing frosting out of my ears and hair, and made a decision. This wasn't over. If Zara wanted to play dirty, I could play dirty too. My phone started blowing up with texts from my parents. Apparently, Zara had already called them with her version of events, where I was cruel and unreasonable, and she was the victim again. This time, I didn't ignore them. I took a picture of my still red face with the cut on my lip and sent it to the family group chat with one message. "This is what your daughter did when I said I wouldn't pay her bills anymore. Still think I'm the problem?" Dad's response, "You know how emotional she gets. You shouldn't have pushed her buttons." Classic. Zara acts like a psycho, and somehow it's my fault for pushing her buttons by checks notes, not wanting to pay her bills anymore. And somehow it's my fault for pushing her buttons by checks notes, not wanting to pay her bills anymore. I tried explaining about the boyfriend again, about how she'd been lying for months, about the shopping sprees and restaurants and trips. Their response was basically, "Well, that's between her and her boyfriend." "No, it's between her, her boyfriend and me, the guy who's been funding it all." Uncle Wade was the only one who took my side. "He called you pressing charges?" was his first question. I wasn't, obviously. She's still my sister, and Poppy would be traumatized if her mom got arrested. But the fact that someone finally acknowledged how messed up the situation was meant a lot. Zara, meanwhile, had launched a full PR campaign against me. She was telling everyone who would listen that I had abandoned her and Poppy because I was jealous of her relationship. She even posted some vague crap on that I had abandoned her and Poppy because I was jealous of her relationship. She even posted some vague crap on Facebook about toxic family members and finding out who really loves you. I could have just walked away at this point, cut contact, licked my wounds, and tried to rebuild my savings. But something in me had changed. I was done being the nice guy who takes the hit for everyone else. Uncle Wade met me for lunch a few days later. We were finishing our burgers when he looked at me, real serious. "Have you thought about what you're going to do next? Because your sister isn't just going to let this go." I shrugged. "What can I do?" "The money's gone," Wade smirked. "Maybe not. My buddy Marcus works at a debt collection agency, the legit kind, not the scammy ones." "You got records of all the money you gave her?" "Every penny," I said. "I've been tracking it in a spreadsheet for years." 3 days later, I was sitting across from Marcus, sliding a folder bulging with statements, Venmo receipts, and text screenshots across his desk. "So your sister asked for money for rent emergencies while buying $300 shoes," he said, flipping through the evidence, "and taking secret boyfriends to fancy restaurants," I added. "And you have texts where she explicitly acknowledges these were loans?" I pointed to a highlighted section. "Zara, I swear I'll pay you back when I get on my feet." "Me, you said that last month." "Zara, I mean it this time." "Perfect," he said. "I can work with this." I left his office with a spring in my step for the first time in weeks. The official notice was delivered to Zara's apartment 2 days later. Total owed $39,000 turned to $23,27, including reasonable interest, payment due immediately. Failure to respond would result in credit reporting, potential wage garnishment, and other legal remedies. My phone rang approximately 18 minutes later. "Are you freaking serious right now?" Zara's voice was so shrill I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "Hello to you too, sis. You sent a debt collector after me?" "Well," I replied casually, "you know what they say. When someone throws cake in your face, send a professional to collect what they owe you or something like that." "This isn't funny. They're threatening my credit score." "That is serious. Maybe you could ask mom and dad for help, or Ryder. He seems to enjoy funding your lifestyle, though I guess he thought he was dating an independent woman, not someone who's been mooching off her brother for 5 years. The screaming that followed was impressive. I let her go for about 30 seconds before interrupting. "Look, it's simple. You borrowed money. You didn't repay it. Now you have a debt. Welcome to adulthood, Zara. Those weren't loans. They were family helping family." "Funny, I have about 50 texts that say otherwise." She hung up. I smiled and silenced my phone, knowing the family nuclear meltdown was about to begin. It didn't disappoint. Mom and Dad called 17 times in the next hour. I finally answered while fixing myself a sandwich. "Have you completely lost your mind?" Dad bellowed without preamble. "Hi, Dad. I'm doing well, thanks for asking." "A debt collector against your own sister?" Since she's allergic to personal responsibility, I thought I'd introduce her to professional responsibility. Mom cut in. "Parker, you need to call this off immediately. Zara is absolutely distraught. So was I when she smashed cake in my face. And when she spent the money I gave her for rent on her secret boyfriend. But please, tell me more about how I'm the bad guy here." "This isn't who we raised you to be," Dad said gravely. "You raised me to be a doormat?" Weird, I must have missed that lesson. The conversation devolved from there. They cycled through guilt, threats, and appeals to family loyalty. "You know what's really funny?" I said eventually. "I'm the only one who's ever held Zara accountable for anything. Maybe if you'd done that years ago, we wouldn't be here." They hung up on me. Progress. Marcus called the next day. "Your sister and her boyfriend came in," he said, sounding amused. "Quite the performance, I bet." "Let me guess, tears, screaming, threats to call the police?" "All of the above." But the boyfriend pulled me aside and asked how much it would take to make this go away immediately. I nearly dropped my phone. "Seriously?" He seemed very concerned about her credit score, almost like he was planning something that required good credit. I told him a significant good faith payment would show seriousness, and he wrote a check concerned about her credit score, almost like he was planning something that required good credit. I told him a significant good faith payment would show seriousness, and he wrote a check for $5,000 on the spot. I burst out laughing. "He what?" "Yep. And they signed a payment plan for the rest, $500 a month until it's paid off. Congratulations, you'll be getting about $350 a month after our fee." I hung up and did a victory dance around my living room. Best investment in a debt collector ever. Zara's social media went suspiciously quiet after that. No more posts about toxic family, no more victim narratives, just radio silence. The first payment hit my account the following week. I immediately used it to fix my car's AC, which had been busted for 2 summers. The next month, I paid off one of my credit cards. The month after that, I started a savings account. My parents were still giving me the cold shoulder, convinced I'd committed some unforgivable sin against the sacred institution of family. Uncle Wade thought it was hilarious. "They'll come around," he said during our fishing trip, "or they won't. Either way, you're not bankrupt anymore." The best part? For the first time in 5 years, I can buy the good coffee at the grocery store without calculating how many of Zara's bills that money could cover. Freedom tastes like premium dark roast, and it is delicious. Since a bunch of people asked, yes, the debt collector route is legit if you have proper documentation that the money was a loan, not a gift. Text messages where someone acknowledges it's a loan and promises to pay you back are legally binding in most states. Do your research and keep your receipts, people.